The silver ship descended through Earth's atmosphere like a falling star. Inside, Admiral Ross stared at his sensors with growing concern. His assessment team had visited thousands of worlds, but none quite like this one. Lightning crackled around their hull, and wind speeds that would tear apart most spacecraft buffeted their vessel. "Impossible," he muttered, his gray skin turning slightly pale. "The gravity alone should make intelligent life impossible, let alone these atmospheric conditions." The ship's AI confirmed what his instruments were telling him. This planet was a nightmare by galactic standards. Extreme temperature variations, aggressive wildlife, natural disasters, and countless diseases should have prevented any species from developing past basic tool use. Yet somehow, the humans had not only survived but built massive cities. Tom Baker stood at the military base's observation deck, watching the alien ship land. At 45 years old, he had spent his entire career studying military strategy, from ancient battles to modern warfare. He hadn't expected to use this knowledge against beings from another world, but he felt strangely calm about the situation. "Sir," Major Grant appeared beside him, tablet in hand. "The assessment team is requesting to meet with our top military strategist." "That's you." Tom nodded, his eyes never leaving the ship. "They crossed light years to evaluate us. Let's show them what a Class 13 Deathworld native can do." The meeting room felt too small for the tension it contained. 3 alien officials sat across from Tom, their perfectly pressed uniforms marking them as members of the Galactic Council's most prestigious military assessment team. Their movements were precise, calculated, and utterly predictable, the product of 10,000 years of rigid military doctrine. Admiral Ross spoke first, his translator converting his words into English. "We have reviewed your planet's military capabilities." He paused, seeming almost embarrassed. "Your technologies are primitive by our standards. Projectile weapons, combustion engines, basic space flight capabilities." Tom noticed how the aliens flinched at the sound of thunder outside. A spring storm was rolling in, just another normal day on Earth that seemed to terrify these advanced beings. "However," Ross continued, "we are puzzled by several aspects of your military history. Your species seems to have an unusual fixation with warfare. Our records show that you've developed more unique combat strategies in your brief civilization than most species create in a million years." "We had good teachers," Tom replied calmly. "Earth itself taught us how to survive. Every predator, every natural disaster, every disease, they all helped shape our military thinking." The alien officials exchanged worried glances. One of them, a female with silvery markings, spoke up. "Our preliminary assessment suggests your world should be classified as a Class 13 Deathworld. No other known planet has achieved this classification. The fact that you've not only survived but thrived here is concerning." Tom couldn't help but smile. Concerning for whom? The room fell silent. Outside, the storm grew stronger. Rain hammered against the windows, and lightning illuminated the aliens' increasingly uncomfortable expressions. Admiral Ross stood abruptly. "We will need to report these findings to the Council. A species that can master a Class 13 environment may require special consideration." As they left the room, Tom overheard one alien whisper to another, "Did you see how he smiled when we mentioned the classification? They're proud of living in this hell." Tom returned to the observation deck, watching as the alien ship took off through the storm. Major Grant joined him again. "How did it go, sir?" "They think we're primitive because we still use bullets and rockets," Tom said, watching lightning dance around the departing ship. "They don't understand that we keep these weapons because they work. They've never had to adapt or die like we have." "Will they be back?" Grant asked. Tom nodded, his expression turning serious. "They're scared of us, even if they don't realize it yet. Their technology is incredible, but they've never faced an enemy forged in a Class 13 Deathworld. They'll be back, and when they come, they'll try to eliminate what they see as a potential threat." The storm raged on, But neither man flinched at the thunder. They were children of Earth, after all. And soon, the galaxy would learn what that truly meant. 3 months after the assessment, they returned. Not with one ship, but with 1,000. The massive vessels of the Harmonious Legion darkened the skies above every major city on Earth. Their arrival sent governments into chaos, but Tom Baker had been preparing for this moment. He stood in the Global Defense Command Center, surrounded by screens showing the alien fleet. Military leaders from around the world waited for his input, connected through secure channels. The aliens had made their demands clear: surrender or face immediate pacification. "They're making their first mistake," Tom said, pointing to the fleet formations. "Look at their positioning. Perfect geometric patterns, just like ancient armies used to do before they learned better." Major Grant frowned at the displays. "Sir, they're deploying what looks like dropships. Thousands of them." "Let them come," Tom replied, a hint of a smile on his face. "They're about to learn why Earth's military stopped using predictable formations centuries ago." The alien dropships descended in perfect squares, each one carrying 100 troops in gleaming armor. Admiral Ross's voice boomed across all communication channels. "Your primitive weapons cannot harm our advanced shields. Surrender now to minimize casualties." Tom's response was to activate the Global Defense Plan. As the alien ships approached their landing zones, they met no resistance. Everything seemed too easy. Then the ground beneath their landing zones collapsed. The aliens had never considered that humans would dig vast networks of tunnels beneath every major city. Their perfect formations turned into perfect targets as entire squadrons fell into carefully prepared traps. Those who managed to land found themselves separated from their units, their orderly tactics falling apart in Earth's urban maze. "Second wave incoming," Major Grant reported. "They're trying to rescue the first wave." Tom nodded. "Right on schedule. Release the drones." Thousands of small, cheap drones filled the sky. The aliens' advanced targeting systems, designed to track sophisticated weapons, struggled to handle the sheer number of simple machines swarming their positions. The drones weren't meant to cause damage. They just needed to confuse the alien sensors long enough. In the confusion, Earth's armies struck, not with advanced energy weapons or massive space battles, but with simple, proven tools of war. Tanks emerged from hidden bunkers. Artillery positions that had been disguised as buildings opened fire. Soldiers who knew every street and alley of their cities launched coordinated attacks. Admiral Ross watched in horror from his command ship as his perfect battle plan crumbled. Impossible. Their weapons are centuries behind ours. But it wasn't about the weapons. The alien shields could stop energy beams and plasma bolts, but they weren't designed for the crude kinetic impact of artillery shells. Their advanced armor was optimized for energy weapons, not the simple physics of a shake charge. "Report from London," Major Grant called out. "The alien forces are retreating." Same in Moscow, Beijing, and New York. Tom studied the tactical display. The aliens were falling back to their ships, their neat formations shattered. "They still don't understand," he said quietly. "They think this was our main attack." In truth, it was just the beginning. Decades of Cold War had taught humans to prepare for every scenario. Every city had its defense plans. Every soldier knew how to fight without relying on complex technology. And now, those lessons would teach the galaxy why Earth was classified as a Class 13 Deathworld. "Sir," Major Grant said, "Admiral Ross is requesting a direct communication." Tom accepted the call. The alien admiral's face appeared on screen, his gray skin now almost white with stress. "How?" he demanded. "Your species is barely space-capable." "That's your second mistake," Tom replied calmly. "You think advancement only means better technology. We advanced in different ways. Every war, every battle, every conflict taught us something. Earth doesn't forgive mistakes, Admiral, and neither do we." As the alien fleet retreated to regroup, Tom knew they would be back. But next time, they would face more than just defensive tactics. The children of Earth were ready to show the galaxy why evolution on a Deathworld created the deadliest warriors in the universe. The harmonious Legion's warships hung in orbit like angry storm clouds. 2 weeks had passed since their failed first attack, and they were adapting. Or at least, they were trying to. Tom Baker watched the tactical display as alien scout ships probed Earth's defenses. They were learning, but not fast enough. Their advanced AI systems struggled to understand human warfare because it didn't follow their logical patterns. "They're scanning our defense networks again," Major Grant reported. "Their AI is trying to predict our next move." Tom smiled. "Show them what we prepared." Across the globe, human forces activated thousands of dummy positions. Old tanks that couldn't run anymore became perfect decoys. Abandoned buildings housed fake command centers. The alien sensors picked up all of it, feeding false data to their prediction systems. In the Legion's command ship, Admiral Ross faced a growing crisis. His AI advisors, the pride of galactic military technology, were giving him conflicting information. How can they be in all these positions at once? He demanded. It defies all tactical logic. His second-in-command, General Vale, studied the data with growing frustration. The humans, they're not following any known military doctrine. Their movements appear random, yet somehow coordinated. On the surface, Tom's real strategy was already in motion. Small teams of soldiers moved through dense forests, deep tunnels, and urban ruins. The alien sensors, designed for detecting energy weapons and shield signatures, barely noticed humans carrying simple rifles and wearing basic camouflage. "Sir," Major Grant called out, "Team Alpha reports success in the Amazon. The aliens tried to establish a base there, but—" He paused, checking the report again. The local wildlife proved more hostile than their defenses could handle. Tom nodded. Earth's natural dangers were becoming their best allies. In the Amazon, poisonous creatures and deadly plants overwhelmed alien troops. In Siberia, the extreme cold froze their advanced equipment. In the Sahara, sand ruined their perfect machines. The aliens' frustration showed in their next attack. They launched a massive assault on what their AI insisted was Earth's main command center. Instead, they found an empty building rigged with simple traps. As they retreated, human forces struck from hidden positions, using the chaos to capture alien technology. "Report from Captain Lee," Major Grant announced. "Her team successfully captured an alien walker. They've already figured out how to pilot it." This was humanity's secret weapon, not technology, but the ability to understand and adapt to anything. Within hours of capturing alien equipment, human engineers had it running in ways its creators never imagined. Admiral Ross watched in horror as his own weapons turned against his forces. Impossible. Their primitive minds shouldn't be able to comprehend our technology. But they did more than comprehend it. They improved it. Where alien weapons were designed for perfect conditions, humans modified them to work in Earth's harsh environments. They made them simpler, tougher, more reliable. The Legion suffered its first major defeat when their main ground force was trapped in the Rocky Mountains. Their perfect formations meant nothing in the narrow valleys. Their advanced sensors were blinded by simple smoke grenades. Their troops, used to fighting in ideal conditions, broke under the strain of Earth's lower oxygen levels at high altitudes. Tom stood at the command center, watching the alien forces retreat once again. "They still don't get it," he said to Major Grant. "Every problem they face, we've already solved thousands of times throughout our history." "Sir," Grant replied, "intercepted communications show their troops are starting to question their leadership. Some are asking why they weren't warned about Earth's conditions." Tom's expression turned serious. "Because they never had to adapt like we did. Every human knows that survival means changing, learning, and growing stronger. We don't just live on a Class 13 death world. We conquered it." As night fell, the alien fleet pulled back to regroup again. But this time, they left behind more than just defeated troops. They left behind the seeds of doubt in their perfect system, and the growing fear of what these Deathworld natives might do next. Admiral Ross paced in his command center, his perfect uniform now wrinkled from too many sleepless cycles. The harmonious Legion had never failed before, and now they were losing to what they had considered a primitive species. He had made a decision that would shock the Galactic Council. He would break 10,000 years of military protocol. "We will fight like them," he announced to his commanders. "No more standard formations, no more predictable tactics. We must think like humans." On Earth, Tom Baker received this news with a grim smile. "And that," he told Major Grant, "will be their biggest mistake yet." "Why's that, sir?" Grant asked, watching the alien fleet rearrange itself into irregular patterns. "Because they're trying to copy something they don't understand. They've spent 10,000 years perfecting their way of war. They can't just suddenly start thinking like us." The aliens' next attack proved Tom right. They tried to use guerrilla tactics, but their movements were still too perfect, too calculated. They hid their forces in forests, but chose locations an eye would pick, not the spots a human who grew up hunting would select. "Look at their new formation," Tom pointed at the tactical display. "They're trying to be unpredictable, but they're using mathematical patterns. They don't understand that true chaos comes from experience, not calculations." The Legion's troops, trained to follow exact protocols, struggled with their new orders to be unpredictable. Some refused to break formation at all. Others, trying too hard to be random, made themselves easy targets. Their perfect discipline, once their greatest strength, became their weakness. Captain Lee, now commanding a mix of human and captured alien vehicles, reported from the field. "Sir, their new tactics are actually making them more vulnerable. They're splitting up their forces like we do, but they don't know how to support each other like we do." Tom had prepared for this. He knew that an army trying to change its entire way of fighting would face confusion in its ranks. He launched his counterattack when the alien forces were caught between their old and new tactics. The battle that followed turned into a perfect demonstration of why humans excelled at adaptive warfare, while alien commanders argued over whether to follow protocols or break them. Human forces struck from multiple directions. They used simple tactics that had worked for centuries: cutting supply lines, targeting command units, and forcing the enemy to fight in unfavorable conditions. "Their command structure is falling apart," Major Grant reported, watching the tactical displays. "Lower-ranking officers are refusing orders, saying they conflict with core protocols." In orbit, Admiral Ross watched his forces crumble. His attempt to copy human tactics had backfired completely. "How do they do it?" he demanded. "How do they coordinate without perfect protocols?" The answer came from an unexpected source, a junior alien officer who had been studying human history. "Sir," he said hesitantly, "I think it's because they trust each other. They don't need perfect protocols because they adapt together, naturally." This concept was so foreign to the Legion that many officers couldn't grasp it. Their society was built on perfect order, not trust and adaptation. As their forces retreated once again, the Legion faced not just a military crisis, but an ideological one. Tom watched the alien fleet pull back, knowing this battle had struck deeper than any previous victory. "They tried to copy our methods without understanding our nature," he told Grant. "You can't just decide to be unpredictable. Humans are good at this because we've spent our entire history adapting to survive." As the sun set on another victory, Earth's defenders prepared for what would come next. The Legion would return, but now they faced an enemy that had not only survived their best attacks, but had turned their attempt to adapt into another weakness. "They're learning," Tom said, "but they're learning the wrong lessons. And that's going to cost them everything." Tom Baker stood before the world's military leaders, his plan displayed on the massive screen behind him. After months of defending Earth, it was time to take the fight to the enemy. "They expect us to keep fighting from our Deathworld," he explained. "They never think we'd dare to attack their fleet directly. That's exactly why we should do it." Major Grant zoomed in on the alien fleet's position. "We've modified their captured ships with human controls. Captain Lee has trained 50 crews to fly them. But sir, we're still outnumbered 100 to 1. Tom smiled. Numbers didn't help them here. They won't help them up there either. The plan was classic human thinking. Use the enemy's strength against them. The alien ships were perfect, their crews trained to fight in specific ways. But they had never faced ships piloted by humans who didn't care about flying in perfect formation. Captain Lee led the first attack. Her fleet of captured ships approached the Legion's armada in standard alien formation. Admiral Ross, watching from his command ship, felt relief at seeing familiar tactics. At least some of our ships remained loyal, he said to his officers. Then his relief turned to horror as the captured ships suddenly broke formation and attacked in ways no alien would ever consider. Lee's voice crackled over the command center speakers. Their ships are like their troops. All their weapons face forward because they always fight in straight lines. They can't handle attacks from weird angles. She was right. The human pilots flew their ships in ways that made alien commanders dizzy. They used maneuvers that broke every rule of space combat. They flew so close to each other that no eye would ever allow it, confusing the Legion's targeting systems. Their flying captured heavy cruisers like fighter jets. An alien officer screamed as another Legion ship fell to the seemingly chaotic human attack. But Tom's real plan was even bolder. While the space battle drew the Legion's attention, Earth's remaining forces had a different mission. Teams of engineers, led by people who had spent their lives breaking and fixing complex machines, had studied the alien ship's weaknesses. All teams in position, Major Grant reported. They found the weak spots, just like you predicted. The aliens never thought anyone would attack their ships with simple tools. Tom gave the order. Across the alien fleet, small teams of humans deployed from the captured ships. They carried basic cutting tools, simple explosives, and centuries of human experience in breaking things. The aliens' advanced sensors looked for high-tech weapons, completely missing the primitive devices that were about to tear their fleet apart. Admiral Ross couldn't understand what was happening. His mighty ships were being destroyed by humans wearing nothing more than basic spacesuits, using tools that any alien child would consider toys. His crew watched in shock as humans cut through their hull with plasma torches designed for mining, not warfare. Impossible, Ross shouted as another ship reported critical damage. Their weapons are too simple to harm our ships. But that was humanity's secret weapon, keeping things simple. When alien shields failed due to power loss, they stopped working entirely. When human tools broke, they could be fixed with spare parts. While alien crews waited for their AI to tell them what to do, humans were already solving problems on their own. The battle in space turned into a complete rout. The Legion's perfect fleet fell into chaos as human pilots and boarding teams struck from all directions. Ships that had never needed repairs in centuries were crippled by simple explosives placed in exactly the right spots. Tom watched the tactical display as more and more alien ships either surrendered or retreated. "Send the message," he ordered. Major Grant transmitted their demands. "You tried to conquer our Deathworld. Now you know why we call it home. Surrender or learn what else children of Earth can do." In his damaged command ship, Admiral Ross realized a terrible truth. They hadn't just underestimated humanity's strength. They had failed to understand that living on a death world hadn't made humans primitive. It had made them unstoppable. The news of the Harmonious Legion's defeat spread through the galaxy like a shockwave. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting, something that hadn't happened in over 1,000 years. Representatives from 100 advanced civilizations gathered to face an uncomfortable truth. Their most powerful military force had been beaten by a primitive species. Tom Baker watched the Council's broadcast from Earth's new command center, built using a mix of human and alien technology. Major Grant stood beside him, reading reports from their new space patrols. "The Council is in chaos," Grant said. "Half of them want to send an even bigger fleet. The other half want to make peace before we decide to leave Earth." Tom nodded. They're finally asking the right question. What happens when humans decide to expand beyond their death world? The council's debate was interrupted by something unprecedented. Lower-ranking Legion officers were demanding to speak. In 10,000 years, no one had ever questioned the Legion's leadership in public. "We lost because we were wrong about everything," a young Legion commander declared to the council. "The humans don't just survive on their Deathworld. They learn from it. Every dangerous animal teaches them about strategy. Every natural disaster shows them how to adapt. Every disease forces them to become stronger." Admiral Ross, now stripped of his main fleet, faced the council next. His perfect uniform was gone, replaced by a simpler outfit that showed signs of repair, something he'd learned from watching humans maintain their equipment. "I thought their planet made them weak," he admitted. "I was wrong. Their world made them stronger than any species we've ever encountered. They don't need perfect technology because they've learned to work with what they have. They don't need AI to make decisions because they've faced millions of life or death choices in their evolution." The council chambers erupted in argument. Some members demanded that Earth be contained, prevented from spreading into space. Others pointed out that any species that could defeat the Legion with primitive tools would be impossible to contain. On a secure channel, Captain Lee reported from her patrol of the solar system. "Sir, we're detecting more alien ships approaching. But these ones are different. They're merchants and diplomats, not warriors." Tom smiled. The galaxy was learning what he had known all along, that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or tactics, but their ability to turn any situation to their advantage. "The Legion's survivors are requesting something strange," Major Grant said, checking another report. "They want to train with us. They say we know things about warfare that they've forgotten over thousands of years of relying on technology." The Galactic Council's meeting reached a dramatic conclusion when one of the oldest members spoke up. This ancient being had seen civilizations rise and fall across millennia. "We made a mistake," the elder counselor announced. "We thought technological advancement was the only path to greatness. These humans show us that there are other ways to grow strong. Their Class 13 Deathworld didn't stunt their development. It forced them to develop in ways we never imagined." Tom watched as the council voted on their next action. The result was clear. Earth would not be attacked again. Instead, the council had to face a new reality where their assumptions about civilization and progress had been proven wrong. "What do you think they fear more?" Grant asked. "Our ability to fight or our ability to adapt?" "Both," Tom replied. "We showed them that their way isn't the only way. That's more dangerous to them than any weapon. They built their society on the idea that their path was perfect. Now they have to accept that a species they thought was primitive might have figured out something they missed." As the council meeting ended, ships from across the galaxy approached Earth. Some came to learn, others to trade, and many simply to understand how a Deathworld species had done the impossible. The galaxy was changing, and humanity had caused that change simply by being what they had always been, survivors who never stopped adapting. 1 year after the Legion's defeat, Earth had changed. Alien ships now peacefully orbited alongside human satellites. Trading posts dotted the moon's surface, but the biggest changes weren't visible from space. They were in how the galaxy viewed humanity. Tom Baker stood on the observation deck of Earth's new space command, watching ships from a dozen alien civilizations dock at the orbital station. Major Grant approached with a tablet displaying the day's reports. "The last Legion training group graduated today," Grant said. "They're completely different from the soldiers who tried to invade us. They've learned to think for themselves." Tom nodded. "And what about Admiral Ross?" "Still teaching at the new military academy. His classes on Why Perfect Plans Fail are the most popular among both human and alien students." The former Legion admiral had surprised everyone by becoming one of Earth's strongest supporters in the Galactic Council. He taught other species what he had learned the hard way. That adaptation was stronger than perfection. Captain Lee's voice came through the command center speakers. "Sir, the Council's annual assessment team is approaching. But you're going to like this. They're using one of our ships, not their own. They say they trust our primitive but reliable technology more." This made Tom smile. The galaxy was finally learning what humans had known for thousands of years, that sometimes the simplest solution was the best one. Alien civilizations that had looked down on Earth's outdated technology now sent their engineers to study how humans made machines that could work in any condition. Messages from the Galactic University, Grant reported. They want to make human adaptation studies a required course for all military and scientific programs. They're calling Earth the greatest teaching ground in the galaxy. Earth's reputation had grown far beyond its military victory. Other species now sent their young to experience the planet's challenges firsthand. They wanted to learn how humans thought, how they solved problems, and most importantly, how they turned harsh conditions into advantages. The Council has officially updated their species development theory, Grant continued. They now recognize that challenging environments can produce advanced civilizations in unexpected ways. They're calling it the Earth Protocol. In the Space Command's main hall, a new display showed Earth's updated classification. The Class 13 Deathworld label remained, but now it carried a different meaning. Instead of a warning, it was a mark of respect. Below it, a simple phrase summed up the galaxy's new understanding. From hardship comes strength. Sir, Grant said, checking another report, survivors from other Deathworlds are contacting us. They want to learn how we succeeded where their civilizations struggled. Tom walked to the window, looking down at the planet that had shaped humanity. Tell them what we learned, that the key isn't just surviving the challenges, but learning from them. Every problem Earth threw at us made us think differently. That's what the Legion never understood. They saw our planet as a prison. We saw it as a teacher. The command center buzzed with activity as ships from across the galaxy continued their peaceful missions to Earth. Human instructors taught alien soldiers how to think creatively. Alien scientists worked with human engineers to combine advanced technology with reliable design. Both species learned from each other, growing stronger together. The Legion's old commanders finally admitted something interesting, Grant said. They said that in 10,000 years of warfare, they never really learned anything new. They just got better at doing the same things. But in 1 year of working with us, they've had to rethink everything they knew. Tom watched as a group of alien cadets practiced in Earth's gravity, struggling but determined to adapt. That's the real victory, he said. Not that we beat them, but that we taught them something new. The galaxy thought they had perfected warfare, but we showed them that perfection isn't as strong as adaptation. As the sun set on another busy day, Earth had truly earned its reputation. No longer seen as a primitive world to be conquered, it had become the galaxy's greatest school, a place where the harshest conditions created the strongest teachers.